Hello and welcome back to Friday Music Random Vinyl number 14. Joined tonight once again by my dear wife Karen.
Hi.
We're going to talk about some really cool vinyl. We'll see what we have here. I was just playing this earlier, so she snuck this in. Here's Redbone, Potlatch, Pat and Lolly Vegas. The brothers, the Vegas brothers, were big in Vegas, big in LA in the 60s. My good friend Mike Kowalski from the Beach Boys played drums with the early rudiments of Redbone. But Pat and Lolly were really prolific writers. They recorded a bunch of hit albums for Epic Records and hit singles throughout the 70s. And one of their best songs, and probably one of my favorite singles of all time, and my top 10 records you got to bring to the desert with you, is Maggie. I really like the 45 version, the one we heard on the radio, because the album's longer. It's got a jam in it. It's cool and everything. But I really thought Epic did a pro job on the edit for Top 40. But Potlatch is a great album. The other great song is New Blue Sermone, which is actually the B-side of Maggie. Alcatraz is on here. But it's funk, man. It's like really cool funk, rock, great guitar work. The rhythms these guys came up with, yeah, they were prehistoric rhythms, all right. And they had more big hits, Witch Queen of New Orleans, Poison Ivy, and then, of course, Come and Get Your Love, which is an anthem. I wish they were still here. They made some great records. Potlatch by Redbone. Pick one up today and add it to your record collection. Next. Never know what she's doing. Oh, all right, this is cool. This is an interesting Beach Boys compilation from Germany. As you know, I worked buying imports as a kid when I was 17 for a one-stop in Philadelphia. And I was always the Beach Boys fan, as everyone knows. But this is a unique compilation of the Today album and the Shutdown Volume 2 album. But the mix, even though it's in like fake stereo, for some reason it sounds great. Specifically the Today album. I listened to this Today album on vinyl from this. And I listened to the mono one that came out in the States. You know, it's the Red Capital from Germany, you know. Do You Want to Dance? The original version of Help Me Run. Nice picture of the guys. You know, a lot of hits on here. Don't Worry Baby, I Get Around, Fun, Fun, Fun. One of my favorite songs was Kiss Me Baby. Warmth of the Sun's on here. I mean, it's just filled with hits. Back of My Mind featuring Dennis Wilson on vocals. I'm So Young is a great song on here. Why Do Fools Fall in Love, which people don't realize they had a hit single with it. And Frankie Lyman classic. So, and Mike Love was always a doo-wop guy. So if you saw him in some of the shows over the years, he would always some kind of oldies chestnut in there, and he would do Why Do Fools Fall in Love a cappella in the beginning, and then the band would kick in most recently, and it was just great. They've always done a great version of that classic. But anyway, I don't know if you can even find this version, but this is on the German Capitol label. But I love the photos. Anyway, Beach Boys, Best of the Beach Boys, they called it, but it's actually the Today album and Shutdown 2. Next. What do we have? All right, this is a cool album. This was not Burton Cummings' favorite Guess Who album. But, you know, it's one of my favorite Guess Who albums. It's called Flavors, came out in 74. I remember getting this and Band on the Run when I had some lawn cutting money left over from the summer. I bought a couple albums with it, and this is one of the ones I had to get because YSP was a new radio station in Philly, and I guess RCA was doing a great job promoting them on this album because that's all they played. And I would hear "Dancing Fool," which to me is that's number 2, number 3 favorite Guess Who song. Sometimes it's number 1. You know, of course, No Time and things like that, and These Eyes. It's all in there. But this was like the last Guess Who era before Burton went solo, and it's Bill Wallace, Dominic Triano from the James Gang, and Gary Peterson, and of course Burton. Again, Dancing Fool is the big song. Hoedown Time, great country kind of rocker on there. Tribute to Graham Parsons. Seems Like I Can't Live Without You. Dirty's on here. Digging Yourself. It's a great song, almost like a prog rock thing. Tell you about this album. Very interesting story. 2001. Miles will tell it because this is why it's autographed. The Guess Who were doing a show in New York City on the 10th at Madison Square Garden, I believe. I'm in Tribeca for a big MCA bash with Shaggy, presenting him with a multiple platinum award for his big album that he had with It Wasn't Me and Angel. And I'm in New York, and the next day I take the train home. I was supposed to have breakfast with a friend in the city of Philly, and I called him. I said, "You never called me. Where are you at?" He goes, "Aren't you watching the news?" And I said, "No, I'm not watching the news." He goes, "Turn it on." And 9/11 was happening, and I was like, "I can't believe this." And I'm probably watching the second tower ready to go down. I get a phone call, and it's Randy Bachman. You all know I'm friends with Randy Bachman. And he said, "Joe, you got to help us. We're stranded in New York City. Our next gig is in Philly. Can you kind of like hook us up with a hotel? We need to be near a place that's convenient for food and like arcades and movies and things like that, because we can't go back to Canada. They were grounded. No, you remember there's no flights. And the next show they had was about 2 weeks away. So I hooked them up in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, at a Hilton. And it was a crazy time. You thought the pandemic was weird, right? And at the same time, we were getting a Bosendorfer piano delivered, because she plays amazing classical piano. And I brought Randy back to the house for dinner, and the piano arrives, and he christened it and played These Eyes on it. And that's the first song he wrote a piano part, to Guess Who. But anyway, he played the song on that piano. We went downstairs, had a little bite to eat. We're going to listen to some music, just trying to chill out. It was a bad day. And we're seeing the plane flying out of the White House go for where President Bush was standing on the rubble with the firefighter, his arm around him. We're watching this. We're both in tears. It was a heavy day, man, but wound up hanging out with the Guess Who for a bunch of nights, man, because they were stranded. And I remember sitting with Burton Cummings, man, and autographed. They all autographed my albums. And I brought this up to Burton, and he goes, that wasn't one of my favorite albums with the Guess Who. I said, it's probably my favorite Guess Who album. He thought I was nuts. It really is a great album. And you know what's cool? Midnight Special has been showing some Guess Who stuff, and it's 74, and they're playing a lot of songs from the album as well as the hits. You be the judge. Dancing Fool, it's an impeccable song. Every song on this album was great. Anyway, big story in the Guess Who, but why not? They deserve it. And they're back together again. Randy and I was just with Randy a couple of weeks ago in Nashville, and him and Burton are going to be doing a cruise, and there's some shows lined up for probably next spring and summer, I think, for 2026 with the Guess Who. And the two boys are back. Can you believe it? All these years, they're back at it again. Next. I love the Guess Who, by the way. I guess you can tell, right? I tell you, I'm not looking. I don't know what the heck she's doing. What do you got for me? What do you got for me? Isn't she lovely? Now, look at that nice dress she's wearing. I'm not supposed to look. All right, I'm not looking. What do you got? Well, these people got to go home sometime. Oh, this is a cool album. He's picking some winners tonight. Dave Clark 5, Weekend in London. I believe this only came out in the United States. Big hit, Come Home. To me, this is like their Rubber Soul. I mean, if you're going to... their albums were different overseas back then. The labels would add... European albums always had 14 tracks or more. We would get 11. And we would get the B-sides on singles, and they wouldn't be on the album, things like that. But this Weekend in London album it's Come Home was such a great song. But there's other things on here like Hurting Inside and Little Bitty Pretty One. I like the short song I'm Thinking. It's maybe a minute and a half. Just the drum sound, and it's fantastic. We'll Be Running is great. Till the Right One Comes Along is a great ballad. It reminds me of Rubber Soul. It came out around the same time. My brother Frankie got this for me when he was stationed, I think in Okinawa or somewhere in the Far East, man, when he was fighting. But he brought this album back. He got on a Navy base for me when I was a kid. One of my best albums from being a kid. Just remember listening to this album all the time. But Weekend in London, Dave Clark 5, the old Epic label. Cool label, man. This is when records were cool, man. You just open them up, and man, you just knew the label was going to be great, just like the Yardbirds label and some other great groups. I hope you enjoyed this little spin on our record collection, and hope to see you soon. Anyway, you have a great night, and as always, you're the greatest.